Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. I was just reading a little bit of the Odyssey and relaxing here at home during our distance learning. What was that, Stephen? Is my hair new? Yes, actually, I decided that I was inspired by Alexander the Great and I would start cutting my hair and combing it like Alexander the Great did. That part straight down the middle and a little flick to the left. Um, am I wearing a toga? No. This is a himation, completely different than a toga. Togas were worn by the Romans. This is an ancient Greek clothing style because I'm reading the Odyssey and I'm going to be talking about the Odyssey this week. But let me start by explaining a little bit of the circumstances for why I know that this is a himation. It all begins with a mostly untrue story about Mr. Macaluso. Now, Mr. Macaluso went to college up in New York. And Mr. Mac, if you talk to him, he knows a lot of people in New York, and a lot of people in New York know him. Because in college, Mr. Mac was very involved in Greek life. Now, usually when you hear about college and Greek life, you're thinking fraternities, sororities perhaps. Not Mr. Mac. Mr. Mac was actually involved in Greek life, the society for the betterment of our current times by modeling ancient Greece. And he was known as El Jefe, right? El Jefe was a very important job on campuses throughout New York universities, right? Now, El Jefe, the liaison for historically accurate fashion education, would go to the more traditional Greek parties, the fraternities and the sororities, these places that might be having toga parties. And El Jefe would go into the parties and inform the various people dressed as I am today that they were in fact not wearing togas, but were rather wearing himatians, this outer garb that was made with a square sheet that was easily thrown over the shoulder and worn as more of a cloak around the city. Now, understandably, Mr. Mac didn't have a lot of friends in college, but he did meet a lot of people as El Jefe. And so when he came to GCS, he continued his El Jefe education and taught me how to fold and wear my own himation. So often when I'm at home reading Homer, I decide to get dressed up and more in character because I feel like it makes me better connect to the stories that we're reading. So that's why I'm dressed the way I am. What are we going to do this week together? Well, that's simple. We're going to read the Odyssey. Now, we're going to start with book 5. We'll read most of book 5 and then the start of book 6. If you would like to read along with me, I'll post a separate video with me going through the text and the reading guide questions. If that's helpful to you, you may watch that video. If not, just come back after you've read the assigned sections of book 5 and 6, and I will give you a summary, storytelling via Mr. Conroy, of the rest of book 6, book 7, and book 8 of the Odyssey. That's what we're going to tackle today in literature, or this week really in literature. And then next week, El Jefe himself, Mr. Mac, will tackle book 9 and more of the Odyssey. So come along, click forward on the playlist to read book 5 and 6 with me, or skip ahead to the summaries of the end of book 6, 7, and 8. And we'll talk Odyssey. Thanks for joining me.